You're listening to Where You Live with Gene and Tony.
Welcome back to Where You Live with Gene and Tony. We're broadcasting from the Natural Green Lawn and Landscape Studios, and we're brought to you by American Family Insurance, the Kim Bennett Agency, and Extreme Exteriors. You can count on Extreme Exteriors for expert installation of siding, roofing, soffits, fascia, decks, windows, and much more. With their knowledge and experience, they can design the perfect solution to make your home beautiful and energy efficient, saving you maintenance and money for years to come. Call them, Extreme Exteriors, at 763-441-1334 and tell them you heard it here on Where You Live. It's time now to hear from the Community Associations Institute. The CAI Minute is brought to you by New Concepts Rental Management. Whether you're an accidental landlord or a seasoned investor, New Concepts Rental Management can help you achieve your financial goals. New Concepts Rental Management can advise and guide you through every aspect of the business. Give me a call, Tony Crockett, at New Concepts Rental Management, 952-922-2500.
Are you a volunteer in your homeowner association? Maybe a residential property manager wanting to increase your industry knowledge and obtain professional credentials in property management. Are you a vendor or professional offering services to homeowners and associations or property managers? If you said yes to any one of those questions, then join the Community Association Institute. The CAI is a great organization, helping you be informed and more proficient in your homeowner association board member or property manager role. It's also a great way to network with potential clients. For nearly 40 years, CAI has provided education and resources to volunteer homeowners who govern community associations and the professionals who support them. Visit cai-mn.com to learn more. That's cai-mn.com. The Minnesota chapter of CAI holds monthly managers' luncheons, board member education training, property manager certification training, and much more. It also produces a bi-monthly informative magazine called Minnesota Community Living. Why not join the Community Association Institute today? You can do so online at cai-mn.com and select membership.
We'd like our listeners to call us and give us some feedback about the show. Our number is 952-224-2668. That's a hotline where you can leave a message. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. Ask us questions or give us ideas for topics for the show. And we'd be happy to address them at our next broadcast.
Yes.
We were talking about how the Twin Cities area has improved as far as negative equity, or homes that are underwater, as we call it. In other words, their mortgage is more than their value. And that's improved greatly in the Twin Cities in the last 3 years, right?
Yes, it has.
And I wanted to know this drop now, how's it going to affect homeowner associations?
Well, it's going to affect them in some fairly noticeable ways. Number one, the number of people who are going to be delinquent, who are going to go into foreclosure, are going to go down significantly. We're already starting to see that in a number of associations.
So that has slowed down.
Yes, which means that those who have continued to stay in their homes in those associations aren't going to have to be turned to bear that burden of the increased costs of the association. And so that's going to be a positive. And because of that, associations are going to have a better financial statement, and that means that when it comes time to renew items like recertification for FHA financing, it means that they're going to be able to get approved for that, and then that means of mortgage will be used, and lending will help people to be able to have a transfer of home from one seller to a new buyer.
Yeah, that will help all of that.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to point out here, and that is I started out in the first segment here talking about sort of a comparison with the last great crash, which was the stock market crash of 1929, and a lot of the things that have gone on today with the great real estate market crash of 2005, I guess. It'll probably be known as in the history books years from now, are very similar. Back then in the 1920s, there ended up being such an increase in stock market and activity. People said, hey, you can't lose. And what ended up happening is, and why this took place, is people got involved in the stock market that really shouldn't have in the first place. They didn't have... They weren't a rich person who was gambling with just a small portion of discretionary income that they could win or lose on. These were people who used all of their life savings, and they lost in a big way because they got emotional and they got caught up into it, and they weren't prepared for those losses.
Yeah.
I see the same thing exactly as taking place here in real estate. There were a number of people that got involved in real estate that really shouldn't have in the first place. And part of that had to do with the fact that we had a government that wanted to get involved. And I'm certainly becoming older and a little bit more jaded in my life to be able to realize, you know what, it's probably best for government just to stay out of the free market.
I think so.
Because I think what they've done is in their quote unquote attempts to help things, they've just made things worse because of unintended consequences. And so they, of course, put on this huge pressure on the lending and mortgage industry to loosen criteria. And so people were being considered for loans that really had no right to. And these weren't people who were like the big rich investors had. This wasn't discretionary money. This was it. For most people, the home is that big, huge purchase. And for most people, the equity, the money that they have for retirement, anything at all, for a lot of people is tied up into the home. And so that's what we saw take place. And what you have done over the last few years is you have counseled and been one voice among others that people needed to listen to realize, you know what, let's try and not react in a knee-jerk fashion, right?
Right.
I mean, a lot of people have just get so emotionally tied and said, oh, I can't deal with this anymore.
Yeah.
I can't deal with the pressure of going negative, of spending money I don't have. And so they said, and people get to a point, they say, I just want it done now. And so they make the decision, and a lot of people allowed their homes to go into foreclosure.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't try renting out their homes, and as a result, it's really wrecked their credit.
Yeah.
And it's really hurt them in trying to get established a second time.
Yeah, but we have had those people too that we've helped hold on to their home, make their mortgage payment every month, even though they could no longer live there. But the rent certainly helped them make that mortgage payment. And now they're kind of looking at the end of the light at the end of the tunnel. They're seeing a point where they may be able to sell and break even, or maybe even make some money on the sale of their home. So
in the rental aspect that you've been involved with, basically for a lot of people that you've dealt with, and you've coined the phrase the accidental landlord for these people. These are folks who at best probably were break even or not even quite break even, right? They were people who even after having a renter placed in this home and moving on, they still have had to contribute a few $100s. But that was a lot better than having the entire payment.
And I explained to my accidental landlords from the start, if you had purchased this home as a rental property, you would have had very different criteria than you had purchasing it as the home you want to live in. And most of the time, you would not have purchased this house as a rental property.
That's right.
Because it wouldn't have been a good return on your money. So now that you're trying to make it a rental property, you know, it's not going to be perfect, and it's not going to have the best return on investment of a normal rental property.
The other aspect of an investment, too, most people who are professional, savvy investors, they don't get emotionally tied to their investments, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And
that was tough. That was tough for some of our homeowners because they moved out, they moved on, but they had a hard time letting go of the fact that was their home. And once in a while we have to say to someone, okay, I know you don't want to allow pets because you're worried about the carpet, but are you really ever going to live there again? Can't we allow this renter to bring their dog or their cat and then hold them responsible for the condition of the carpet? There was a lot of discussion like that going on.
Yes. But the thing that's important, folks, is that you need to, in a crisis, be able to take a step back and try to remove the emotional component from that And that is a very important
Yeah.
piece to remember. And so you've got to remember that people who are realtors, of course, they aren't selling homes for altruistic reasons. They have a reason. They make money when a house sells, whether it's underwater or if the seller is making a profit.
That's right.
You need to realize that. So when you listen to a realtor, they've got another motive. That's all right, but that's a piece of information to see what's best for you.
Yeah.
We have a motive, too. It's not altruistic reasons. We make money when we rent out a property. And
That's
so I
right.
guess what we're saying is what is best for you is going to be something you're going to have to determine based on your circumstances.
That's right.
But you need to listen to a lot of different voices to be able to make that decision.
That's absolutely true.
Well, hey, another voice that we need to listen to are those that support this station. So we're going to do that right now with this station break. Don't go away. A lot more of Where You Live with Gene and Tony after these messages.